Welcome to Maximising the Value of Pure Insights from 2025 and looking ahead to 2026. So we'll be covering all the main topics related to the Pure roadmap. But given it's a relatively small group, I'm just really keen that we make it conversational throughout. So don't feel like you have to wait at any point to ask a question. Best to just ask them as they come up. And we've definitely got time for that. So my name is Amy McLeod and I'm the Pure Product Director. And I'm going to introduce Pure with a few numbers and then come back later to speak about AI. So we have 25 years of service. We have 100 or more dedicated professional staff. And currently we're at 575 institutions across 56 countries with 14 user groups. And now it's a really well-established global community of practice around Pure. And for me, that's one of the most exciting things about the Pure product is this really strong community of practice that gets together at conferences like this. So we've currently got 877,000 researchers, over 75 organisations, 28 million publications, and 1.4 million projects and awards being hosted across the collective Pures. So just as a little icebreaker to make sure that people can bring their voices into the room, what is your favourite feature in Pure? And I've asked the Pure product team to not either bias the results or answer for you. Have we got our moderators? I don't think. Yeah, we need the mics to get the answers to the feature. Favorite features in Pure. Advanced search. And why is that your favorite?
It just allows you to dig into, finer detail about what sort of researchers you want to, connect with.
Thank you for kicking us off.
Hi, I very much enjoy the fingerprint engine.
Great, and why is that?
It really allows us to hone in search. We do a lot for administration for the Pure portal, and when we give presentations, we're telling people how to search. Text search is great, but if you really want to get to expertise, you want to use fingerprints.
Amazing. Anyone else feel moved to tell us their favorite Pure feature? Yes.
Thank you. For different things in the university, not only research departments, we think that if you place the name of the person in Google, it appears at the top, the profile. So whenever you have a certain issue with a professor, you just have to look who is and all the information that you have in Pure, so it's the profiles.
Great, so getting that canonical view of a person in the
Correct.
institution. Amazing. Okay, well, thanks again for people volunteering to share. As I said, really keen to keep this conversational, to have your questions answered. And this is the complete Pure product management team. Here today, we've got Arena, who covers the portal, Milena, who covers integrations, and is stepping in for Nikolai, who does reporting but's not here at the conference, Jofi on communities, and Lars on platform and APIs. So with that, I want to hand over to Lars, and I'll be coming back to speak about AI later on.
Thank you. Yeah, so my favorite feature is the Pure API. So just putting it out there. And speaking of APIs, so when I think about the Pure API, it's really about enabling interoperability. So Pure isn't a closed-off system. It's really a starting point that you can extend. And one of the ways that you can extend Pure is through the API. So in a way, it can help you power this whole like research information ecosystem. So you have many other systems aside from Pure, I take it, and you can really reach synergy when you start connecting the dots, and rather than having systems running in silos. So in a way, you can access structured and trusted data that you put into Pure, and you're able to integrate this data through the API so you can read and write content. And you can even extend workflows, so you can do compliance workflows, maybe even experiment with AI-assisted workflows, which is kind of like a hot topic right now. So it's, in a way, it's still a work in progress, and we're aiming to finish the API by the end of this year. And really to kind of build that vision that Pure should not be a standalone system. It should kind of be a piece of your ecosystem, if you will. So I like to think of the API as kind of like a plug and play system. So what you see here is like an integration layer, and you can kind of plug in different capabilities. So things like institutional reporting, data enrichment. So that's a big thing in terms of like data quality. It's on everyone's mind. So you're able to pull content out of Pure, enrich it, and then push it back into Pure if that's kind of like your particular need. And then, as I mentioned, AI and analytics is also a really big thing, where it's kind of, you can go really crazy with all kinds of experiments. Okay. Some suggested use cases, some ideas that we've seen out there. Some examples, so things like workflows, where you kind of can integrate with other existing workflows. Also, areas like research visibility, so connecting your Pure with a content management system, so you can power an institutional portal or faculty directory. That's something we've seen quite a lot of examples of. And then this idea of data intelligence, where you can push data into like Tableau dashboards or Power BI and data lakes and so on. And then there's this whole idea around AI and automation and agentic workflows. So these are all capabilities that you can kind of tap into with what we already have with the API today. So it's not something that's like fictional. You're actually able to build this with what we have. And I think that the most interesting examples are really your own sort of local problems, what you've encountered. So like manual workflows, or if you're jumbling a bunch of spreadsheets together, sometimes that's where those are like ripe for disruption with the API or simplification. So something to think about there. And speaking of progress, so as I mentioned, we're aiming to kind of expand coverage and have a feature-complete API that covers the entire research graph that you have in Pure, as well as also enabling integration patterns that you need. And what we have just delivered is, for instance, fingerprints. So that was one you mentioned. So you're able to actually retrieve fingerprints and plug that into your workflows or do reporting on these different expertise topics that we kind of capture with the fingerprint. And then up next, we have these in the middle. So there's some odds and ends here. So Pure has a lot of different content types, and some of them you might recognize, and some of them might be more relevant to you. But to have a feature complete one, we need to make sure that we have access to all the content types, so that you're not missing anything. And I think this one on the side here, in terms of exploring, a really sought after feature has been querying and filtering. So basically being able to filter what you need rather than overfetching and then trying to sift through what you need afterwards. So really you can simplify your workflows and you can get just exactly what you need. And the other thing is around if you have institutional identifiers, you provide them rather than this obscure UUID that's found in Pure. So kind of just making it more easy to integrate. So yeah, and another one I think that's pretty notable is this changes streams. It's basically like a delta. So you can ask, well, what changed since last time I asked for updates? So instead of polling everything once a week, for instance, you just ask, well, what changed? And you can pull in those records that are relevant. Yes?
So exploring, is that, how do we move that up?
Well, we're actually working on it. So progress is actually that we're between 30 and 50%. So we expect changes to be done within the next 3 to 6 months. Yes. So these are all, like I said, we aim to be finished by the end of the year, ideally earlier than that. So stay tuned. Yes?
Thank you. I don't know if you're taking questions yet, but since he did, I'm
let's
going
do
to go
it.
as well.
It's a conversation.
Yeah, you mentioned institutional identifiers. Which IDs are we talking about?
Anything you put in, essentially. So if you have, let's say, an HR ID or like an email address or whatnot, you can tag that as an ID on, let's say, a person.
Huh.
So you'd say, well, I want to fetch someone that has this HR ID, and then that's your entry point. That
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah. But it could also be like a publication. So let's say you want to ask for a publication that has a certain DOI. So you use that as a filtering point. Yeah?
It is pulling in other content types from Cyval, Scopus, anywhere on the roadmap? Topics, topic clusters, journal impact scores, I guess
so
index is in there.
Cyval specifically, no. Cyval, it's kind of like its own system. But we do have bulk metrics endpoints on the plan also. You're able to pull metrics currently from the Pure API. So we're also looking at, well, how do you do that more efficiently? So did that answer your question?
Oh, couldn't. Well,
Yeah.
Okay, can we make this a conversation?
Yeah.
I'm actually curious, do you already pull Cyval data into Pure?
No.
Because there are some metrics available.
Yes. We've explored H-index, but haven't ingested it because we didn't want it displayed. Whether we can get that without displaying it would get us part of the way there. But some of the other data sets, so we can look across all these platforms, would be helpful. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to pull in to supplement into our data lake or warehouse the SciVal metrics and the Scopus metrics, but we're going to run into API quota limits. So we're going to have to do it in chunks, and how do we chunk it so that we can capture the changes, both as topics evolve, but also as new publications come out and we need to capture those topics, journal impact scores. So we have a different data set that we've developed from Scopus, and we'd like now to have a comprehensive data set without having kind of these two disparate. So we're going to be working on in the coming weeks probably figuring out how we can augment SciVal or pure data with the SciVal and Scopus metrics without exceeding our quota limits and in a way that's repeatable and sustainable. But if we could get it all from pure, all the better. But topic and topic clusters are not in there, and the journal metrics are not.
No, but we have journal metrics and so on. Let's have a talk afterwards what we can do.
Cool.
Just to keep the conversation going, why is this so important to you?
So we can speak the same language across all of the different products we have, and it gives us multiple lenses and ways to analyze the data. Sometimes the fingerprints are great. It gives us one way to contextualize the omniscience domains versus the SJC categories, gives us another way. But all of these different components allow for, I don't want to say us to develop our own fingerprint, but a more comprehensive view of all of the data across these different content types. So we're really trying to, we're 3 months post go live for Pure. We're really trying to figure out that roadmap of how we utilize all these different data points that we have in a way that enriches our understanding of the data and our ability to query that data in a quick and concise way.
Very good.
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, so lots of stuff to look out for in the roadmap. Yeah, and I think like my appeal would be to continue experimenting with what we already have and what we're continuing to expand. So you can, if you need some inspiration, here's a starting point. We can build a simple integration that pulls content, for instance, fingerprints, since that's like a new endpoint that we have, and it's something that's, pretty tangible. And then, as I touched on, like different workflows. So when something changes in Pure, it could be a new publication comes in, or something changes, a grant gets entered, and so on. Then you're able to actually pull that out and then react to that change, and then power a workflow, or even build like a chatbot on top. That's also achievable with what we have. So, and of course, like if you have any other like experiments that you're excited about, like I would love to hear about that too. So really, really curious about what's going on out in the wild. Yeah, so relevant sessions. So we have a session on the National Science Foundation TIP Explorer, which also touches on like how do you kind of build AI on top of Pure using the API, which is also very, very very exciting, like what they built there. And that's also here. today. And there's also a session here, number 2, on sort of enhancing research outputs with multiple languages, and check that out too. And then tomorrow I also have a session on pure APIs, about like how can you build sort of an event-driven integration on top of Pure with what we have, rather than let's say, you know, polling. It's more like a push idea, so that you can power workflows. With that being said, Malene is next. Thank you.
Well, my favorite feature in Pure is absolutely pulling in Scopus publication automatically into Pure, which is what I'm going to talk about. My second favorite feature, and I know Amy said not to say anything about our favorite feature, but my second favorite feature is absolutely the available update functionality for those of you who pull in records from somewhere else or add things manually. We can use that feature to enrich and qualify your data. So that's my second feature. Love that feature. But what I'm going to talk about today is some of the things we're going to do in our integrations team around updating the capabilities we have in Pure around Scopus. It needs a little bit of care. It's a feature we have had for a long time. We have many ways of getting Scopus publications into Pure. I think most of you sitting in this room here is probably using the PRS service, but we have other ways also to get Scopus publication in. And one thing is that Pure has evolved over 24 years and sort of been built in fraction. You know, it's a little bit like having a house. You build a little add-on, and Pure sometimes turns into this add-on. It's also built in Denmark. We have Lego blocks, right? And that's Pure. So over the years, we have developed many ways of getting Scopus publications in, but we have tiny bit of differences on how we get them in and how we associate affiliations to publications. And for those of you who know Pure, you know how important affiliations is. So when we get questions, we have to do a lot of digging to try and figure out how did this get in and why did we add that affiliation and so on. So what we want to do throughout the next months is trying to unify it a little bit so we use the same functionality across the ways that we can get Scopus publications in. We also see that one of the problems we have with Scopus publication, not as much with actually PRS, but also sometimes with the PRS service, is the way we affiliate external content, so external organizations to persons. It has a tendency to not work exactly how we would want it to work, so we're going to look a little bit into doing that a little bit better, and I'll be probably querying you a little bit over the days on how exactly you handle that. But it's a way to make it better, easier to show the entire portfolio of your researchers. And then we have some strategies on how we import things, and it differs a little bit if it's Scopus and if it's Web of Science you pull in from, or PubMed, and we want to unify it, making Pure more simple. So by that, we will also be removing some configurations. When we look across Pure, especially if you look into the PRS and the jobs in there, you will see so many configurations, and we've probably done it for good reasons, but perhaps it's time to sort of clean up a little bit and say some of these these configurations probably not needed, or is just used as sort of corner cases. So cleaning up a little bit and making it more simple to understand what's happening with your content, and especially around Scopus important. What we also want to do is well, probably most of you have put in a ticket saying, why are we not updating the affiliation on this record? We have this notion in Pure that if you go in and touch a field, we will no longer update that field. But when it comes to authors, we actually see the author list as one field. So if you just touch one person, we will not update any persons ever again on that specific record. And we want to move away from seeing things in lists, as we call it, so you can go in, change one person, we won't touch that author, but we'll touch the rest of the authors if anything happens in Scopus. So this is one of the things that has caused, I know, a lot of questions, a lot of headaches, and we want to see if we can improve that a little bit. And then finally, over the years, in Pure, we love Scopus. Scopus is the cool source, and we love it. But we love it to a degree that we are being really hard on the Scopus API. Currently, we query Scopus API 75 million times a month. It means that we ask the Scopus API somewhere alongside of 60 times a second when we really are being busy. And Scopus is a little bit annoyed with that. And okay, fair enough, fair enough. So what we want to do is we want to look into some technologies on how can we make life easier for Scopus, but also for you, because sometimes you run in also to some limits on the number of times we call for your institution. So we want to improve on that so we can make sure that you continuously, also when we get 1,000 Pure clients, still can get Scopus data into Pure in a good manner. So we are moving away from querying Scopus API directly, going to something called the AS Retrieve. If you're interested in that, there is a session on that tomorrow afternoon. You won't see the difference. The hope is that you will not recognize that we are doing these changes, but it will be better for you in the long run. So this is me and what we're working on mostly throughout this year here. You will see small changes here and there gradually, and we'll make sure to update you in the release notes on these changes. If you are interested in actually figuring out what's happening behind the scenes in these PRS jobs, me and Jörg, who's standing down here, is having a session on that tomorrow. I hope to see you. And there is also a session on how to expand Pure across content types. So moving outside also just the research output, but getting more content into Pure. Options on that. And with these words, I'll turn it over to Sophia.
Thank you, Malena. So my name is Sophie. I'm the product manager of Pure Community. I'm not going to start with my favorite feature. I'm going to say that later. That's not a feature. So when we talk about Pure, we usually talk about research information management on an institutional level. But actually, every institution, every university is part of a complex, increasingly codependent ecosystem. And what we see is that these regional or even national ecosystems, they need some sort of research collaboration and innovation infrastructure to serve their needs, such as increasing visibility of ecosystem-level activity and capabilities, also helping finding expertise to form collaborations, enabling assessment, reporting exercises, and also supporting funding decisions. But what is crucial to serve all of these use cases is some correct, complete, and in some way validated data. So Pure Community is really a comprehensive, sustainable research information infrastructure. It aggregates research information from a number of institutions into an aggregated, deduplicated central view, so that these groups of institutions can have a public search engine optimized portal, and also they can perform multi-institutional analytics. So we have been serving various communities in the past 10 years or so across the globe, and actually 4 of them in the US. So we support New Jersey state institutions, Arizona, SUNY, who are represented here, and also, as of lately, the historically Black colleges and universities community. And we also have a community newly forming, our first global one, in Mexico and across Spain. So what we are working on, oh yeah, one more thing to say maybe that's good to realize is that the typical sponsors of such large-scale collaborations are central offices of systems or economic development agencies of the region. So what we are doing to be able to serve these communities, we are rebuilding our infrastructure. So the heart and the soul of the community solutions is our large-scale data harvesting capability. So we are making this more stable, scalable, and flexible. We also closely work together with our support and implementations teams, who are doing an amazing job supporting such complex initiatives. And also the aim is really to become the strategic enabler of regional or even national digital transformation efforts. So a little bit more in detail on the progress. As I mentioned, there is this large data harvesting capability that we're rebuilding. So the architecture is ready, and we have tested its scaling, and we're currently testing with customer data, hopefully soon with some more customer data. And the next thing that we are working on is an upgraded event log. This is going to help administrators have more transparency over how the data is harvested and what goes from institutional level into community level. And this is going to be my favorite feature. So what we are exploring is expanding the harvesting capability also to custom-defined fields, and also allowing some more custom harvesting criteria, so to give more freedom to institutions to decide what they want to go into a central instance. And the sessions I wanted to highlight. So there's going to be a talk, actually Lars mentioned this one from Regnum Christi, and Mariana is here. So that is one of our newly forming communities. And we also have a talk from HBCU. I'm very, very excited to hear that one. And last but not least, SUNY is also going to tell us about how they're implementing community at their system. Thank you very much. And with that, I hand it back to Amy.
Okay, so this section is about AI, but I'm going to start from what might be quite an unusual starting point. So I've worked in technology for 15 years. I consider myself a technology enthusiast, but that's not where I started. I actually did a undergraduate in social science and then did a master's in social science of the internet, which was all around how do technology advances kind of evolve. And so with the advance of AI, it's kind of brought me back to my master's when I thought about what would be the impact of education materials going online, and thinking like, oh my gosh, the master's students now must be having a huge amount to think through around what will be the future of AI. But before that social science degree, I actually did, so the social sciences master's, my social science undergraduate included philosophy. And I did have the privilege to go to Oxford, and sometimes I think if people imagined what it would be like to go to Oxford, it would look like this. And so our library was in a church. We hung out in a deconsecrated graveyard. And some of my tutorials were in the church turret, which you had to kind of climb a spiral staircase to get to, and sit in an armchair and read out handwritten essays. And my philosophy tutors really stuck with me. They've made a big impact on the way I think. And one of them was adamant that we could not use technology in any way. Our essays had to be written with a pen and paper. And that this was really the way that you taught your mind to kind of critically think. And I feel like I might be the last generation that has fingers with bumps on them because I spent so much time, writing with pencils and fountain pen. So what does this have to do with AI? Well, I just wanted to share that story because genuinely I am not sure about how the AI revolution will evolve. And in Pure, the fundamental is the kind of foundations of our thinking is that the institutions remain in control of their data. Customer data is never used to train LLMs. Responsible AI principles are paramount and they guide all of our AI development. And enterprise-grade security and privacy safeguards are non-negotiable. So I just want to lay that out as the foundation because I know any topic or talk of AI kind of raises concerns around what that means for institutional data. But then on top of that, what are the opportunities for AI? And in Pure, we see a huge amount of different use cases that could benefit from this technology evolution, including getting data into Pure, improving the data quality of Pure, chatting with research data and democratizing the insights, bringing your own AI stack and enabling innovation bespoke to the institution inside the institution, and then also supporting research management use cases. So if you're experimenting with AI in this space, we'd really love to hear from you. But also, I've made it my personal mission for the conference to speak to all of you individually, if you're willing, about your perceptions and experience with AI so far. Without any judgment, there isn't a right answer. I'm just really curious as to your attitudes and experience. And ultimately, we've got some really key questions shaping our exploration around what role should Pure play in the institutional AI stack, what integration surfaces should Pure expose for AI systems, how should AI interact with institutional data while preserving governance and trust, which AI use cases would deliver the most practical value for institutions, where's the research information ecosystem heading in an AI-driven world, how can we support institutions experimenting with AI on Pure? So really interesting, huge amount of questions, and Artem on the team is leading this, and he's not here, and so I'm representing him in terms of collecting whatever insights I can at the conference from everyone in this room. But just to say that we don't have the answer yet, and I think that's completely legitimate given the kind of rate of change that we're seeing, and we really want to think together with the community. So to open up the conversation here just for a minute, does anyone have any views if we could deliver one AI capability in the next 2 years, which would create the most value for you?
Hi, I think we'd really be interested in expertise in search. So being able to put in terms and have those translate to specific terms that may be analogous to those, and then actually search for experts like that.
Okay, great. So you don't have to use the exact terminology, and you can kind of, yeah.
Maybe this is already being done, but it's not at our institution. Just, it's really basic, and just taking someone's expertise as it's reflected in their academic, their research output or their activities or their prizes, and be able to build a biography and research interests within each profile. That would be a real game changer for us.
And we got +1 on that, I think, from... Yeah.
Well, she's the one who does it at our institution.
Yes. What do you do it manually at the moment? Do you? And how do you do it manually?
Typically, we get our scientific writers to... Oh, jeez, don't give me the mic. We give our scientific writers the opportunity to write something for our faculty, and then they'll shoot it over to me, and then I'll manually like copy and paste. So if there's a way to, get main topics, like Colleen said, from their research, that would automatically build a bio. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone spotted it, but I think the keynote had done that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I already wrote down my notes.
Yeah.
On that. And we're not a degree granting institution, so it's not like we can take the classes that they're teaching or anything like that to pull it into their biographies. We're a hospital enterprise with 9 hospitals in the Houston area. So we're a little different model than most of your
Okay.
your
That's
clients.
really good to know.
I had a follow-up on that. Do your faculty members actually review those, or do they just trust you, like, whatever she's written is great, we'll just go ahead with that?
They review.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
Oh, sorry.
Get it directly from them, but that's a small percentage.
I have 2 comments. Maybe the first one is a little dangerous, but maybe with a semantic search, trigger and pull automatic keywords through some products, right? Like I want to tag some specific keyword to these kind of products and you do it automatically, but I know that can sound maybe crazy. That's
No, that's so just to play it back. So you might have a particular set of keywords that you'd like to attach to your corpus.
Yes.
And what would those keywords be? Would they be like kind of strategic pillars or?
I'm not sure about that, but I don't have a specific use case, but something that we can maybe use in the future. And the other thing I want to talk about, one of my main roles is to make collaborations of our researchers with someone from the outside, but sometimes in the same university, researchers don't know that they can collaborate with someone from the inside. So maybe someone in social sciences, their research can work with someone from engineering and maybe some semantic search or inside LLM that maybe you can work with this researcher from another faculty. And I think that can be also useful, something like that.
We've got one more question. Which is, with these examples, how do you see it? Do you see it as AI only or AI with human in the loop? Who should do the task? Hybrid. Lots of nods for hybrid. So relevant sessions, NSF tip covers an AI product, event-driven Pure with Lars on real-time data, actionable insights and AI-enhanced workflows, and then leading on AI change, the role of professional services across departments in the stewardship of AI with Sophie.
Thanks. Okay, so onwards with Pure Portal. As everyone was going through the whole features, I was sitting there quietly panicking, like I love all of it. But I must say that on reflection, my favorite feature is definitely the collaboration map, because it makes you see just how important being a community and an international community and reaching out and pulling those ideas from everyone with all the different backgrounds, how important that is. So yeah, the fact that in the new Pure Portal, it's even better and it includes more stuff is something that I'm super happy about. And once we're talking about what other new stuff the portal is bringing, apart from adding data sets and activities to the collaboration map, the main thing really about it is the flexibility. So it's giving you the tools and the opportunity to say, this is what my institution is about. This is what I want to be the focus of. This is what I want to show and how I want to showcase my talent, my work, and so on. And also we've worked really hard, and it's always a collaborative effort with customers to make it easier to find collaborations. We've done a lot of work this year on global search so that it works well, it finds what people are actually after, and we continue to work on that. We continue improving filtering experience. So it's definitely getting there, and I expect that as more people are using it, we're going to get more and more ideas. I mean, when Amy asked what what AI-empowered ideas are there, you straight away went for search, and I think a couple of you mentioned that. And that seems to me like a natural continuation of what the portal also is about. It's about showcasing and empowering collaboration, and it doesn't matter which way we get there, as long as we get there. That's the important bit. So why are we going to new Pure portal layout? Well, of course, the cool new features are great, but underneath all that is also us moving to the more modern technology, which would allow us to support that growth, to support those new interactive features, and really go with the times. So it's not just about the pretty picture, it's also about the technology that underlies it. So where are we at the moment? In the first half of this year, we are focused on enabling the early adopter customers coming in, being there, the first ones, and helping also us to learn with them. We are also in the background focusing on scaling the solution, because later this year we want to start the scheduled migration. This is what we're looking to do in autumn. So a lot more customers are going to be coming in, and we want to make sure that our system is robust and ready for all of you to join us in this new chapter. We're also working on accessibility, we're working on responsiveness, and importantly, as again, more customers are using the new layout, I'm sure we will get a lot more ideas on how we can improve further, where we could go next. I personally have a long list of things I think we should do. Maybe I'm hoping that I guessed quite a few of those and you will agree that they're useful, but I am even more sure that there will be things that are going to be important and are going to be really valuable that we haven't thought about. And then once you start using it, you will come back and tell us what's the best next ideas for us to focus on. So yeah, by 2027, we hope that by the end of the year, we will have everyone migrated and using the new layout, and then we can focus on developing advanced functionality. So we are gathering feedback consistently, and we are extremely lucky to have customers all over the world who are engaging and who are not holding back, both on praise and on critique. So I've pulled out a few things that, a few nice things that were said about us in terms of how useful the flexibility is, how much easier it is to now show the more visual and interactive, or more visual and media content on the portal. And of course, we continue to learn. So we are working on all the feedback that we're getting. So we have, we have recently made a few improvements. So making sure that when you're searching, you stay in the same context. When you're running a different search, improving the filter counter so it's much easier to use, much clearer where you are at your search. And there is also a long list of things that we're still working on. So splitting the keywords filters, giving you more control over visibility of IDs shown on the portal. I mean, I've only put in 4 bullet points here. I have a very long Excel list. So this is just to say that every single point of feedback that you share with us is not going somewhere into the abyss to be forgotten. We have a clear log on that, and the more people request this feedback, the higher it raises in the priority, and we're taking this very seriously. So please keep that feedback coming. It's something that really helps us to move this forward and make it better. Speaking of making things better, we are also looking out for accessibility. We know that for a lot of people all over the world, it is becoming an increasingly important subject. In the US, there is the ADA legislation that's coming up at the end of this month, and we're 25th or something along those lines is the deadline. So it is undoubtedly a challenge to make sure that all the technologies are accessible, but we are working with that. We've had consistently VPAT assessments done every year over many years now, and we gradually push for these updates. For the portal in the first quarter of this year, we've done a lot of work improving the accessibility. Some things you've instantly seen, stuff like how the search box is presented, how the content types are listed now into rows without the 3 dots that hides things. The SDG section is now also accessible. And some things are not really easily visible until you start using the assistive technology, but they are extremely important stuff like heading structure, alt labels, all of that stuff. We are working on that. We have good grounds to believe that once we have when we have the next VPAT that's planned for September this year, it will show a lot more compliance. So we're aiming for 80+% conformity with VPAT requirements. Obviously, we want it to be higher, but we believe that we can achieve at least 80% plus. In Pure itself, this is a huge subject for us, and we are prioritizing work in the areas especially which are the most popular. Why this is happening is because this is a system that has been, as Malena alluded, built over many, many years, but then we're reusing the components. So if we are changing, if we were to go ahead and say like, oh, let's just resolve this problem across the entire site, we'd be basically rebuilding teeny tiny pieces of every single screen pretty much, which is not a very efficient way of doing this. So instead, how we're approaching this is we have a whole program. It's not just about accessibility. It's about shifting to a more modern technology, to making it also a lot more user-friendly. But my point is that we are prioritizing the screens that most of you will be using, and we are making them and improving them most. So we have the aim also for 80% plus accessibility by the end of the year. But I just wanted to kind of give you a view of where we are with that and the approach that we're taking. For the most relevant sessions, one that's going to be happening just after this one, actually, that's about the experience of migrating to the new Pure portal from our early adopters. So it's not going to be just me telling how amazing the thing that we've built is. You will hear from people who've actually gone through this journey, learned some lessons, and hopefully that will help you also kind of envisage what the migration will do for you. So that's like a discussion roundtable kind of thing. And the second talk that's going to happen tomorrow afternoon, that is about how the modern internet is affecting portals. What do we think about LLMs? What impact do these bots have on the portals? How are we surviving this, and how we hope to help you thrive in this changing landscape? So, yes, I think I am giving it back to Malena. Any questions? Oh, yeah.
Well, we're here the entire 2 days, so please just come. Yeah, so I want to touch a little bit on some things that's been happening in what we call our report assessment team. We have been, over the years, been working on a new and more modern way of building CVs. Up until very recently, the CVs that were inside Pure was sort of template that we built that required us to go in and do changes whenever you wanted something else. It was really heavy and was not built for you being able to tailor the CVs in the way you would like to in your institutions. We have now come up with a new and smarter way of doing it, where you can go in as an institution and build all the CVs that you would like to have in your Pure, and you can customize them to whatever needs that you may have. You can have 100 different CV templates in your Pure that your researchers can be using, and that will be automatically populated based on the criteria that you have built into your CVs. This means that it's very, or easy is not the right word here, but it's easier for the researchers to get the CVs that he or she would like to get out, whatever purposes it might be. It might be he needs some narrative CVs. He can go in, add some text, and that text will always be available when he prints out the CV. It can be CVs that you need for your end-of-year reports. So this researcher can go in and see exactly what is related to him based on the criteria that your university is counting on. We had discussions yesterday. Accreditation reports seems to be a very big issue. You can go in, build those accreditation CV templates, and your researchers can simply go in, click a button, and get that CV out. It's built for all sorts of purposes, and one little nice thing is you can actually add your own institution icon or logo to the CV, so it's personalized a little bit more to your institution. So this has come out and it's available for those of you who have the CV module in Pure. The report module has also gone out of beta and has taken over, and we can see a lot of usage of the report module. We see right now more than 25,000 report being exported. We see a lot of data stories being created. A lot of people are getting what they want out of our report module on a daily basis. I always have fun telling when I was working as a Pure administrator, I think I did about 100 reports a week, it felt like, and all of that can now come out of the new report module, which also means that we have now taken out the classical, we have now sunset the classical report module. It is no longer available in your Pure unless you want it to be, because we have put in a little back door. So if any of you are still sort of relying on the classical report module, you can get in contact with us and we can enable it for you for a period of time. But we really encouraged you to start using the new report module, as we can see many people or many institutions have done now. Just to elaborate, we're turning off the classical report module, but the dashboard functionality in Pure is still there. You can still use dashboard. We are gonna sunset the dashboard at one point in time, but we have not decided when. And we have said when we figure out when that time is, we'll give you at least a year where you can continue using the dashboard. But we haven't set that date yet, so it means at least a year from now. A year and a half, I can promise you that. So that's it. There is functionalities here and there in Pure that is using the classical report module. They will also stay put right now. So it's simply creating reports using the classical report module has now been deleted. One thing I just forgot to mention is we have added, we still have the new report module is not done. It's not like we're saying, now we're done with the new report module. For those of you who knew the classical one, you would know that we continued building new features into the classical report module for 15 years. With the new report module, we'll be doing the same for the next 15 years or so. We'll put new functionalities into the new report module. It will continue to grow over time. Some of the things that have just gotten in is the ability to report on event and classifications. And I do not know why we forgot to put it in, but actually fingerprints, which I think is the coolest story. You can report on fingerprints now, using fingerprint as your starting point and move your way out so you can see content, persons, and whatnot related to those fingerprints. Bushra, that is the session for next year. We're going to a workshop on reporting on fingerprint next year. But it's the really cool functionality that has gotten into Pure. So I think these are the words from me, and I'll hand it over to Pat. If there's no questions. Questions? Got it.
Thanks, Melina. Hi, everyone. Pat Crisfola. Good to see you all. Good to see many familiar faces and some new ones. I'm privileged to lead the teams at Pure and Interfolio who provide product development, user group management, conferences like this, customer support, implementation services, PRS, and all the different parts of Pure. So I was asked to speak a little bit while we have you in this plenary session to just kind of recap our ways to provide support for you as a customer. So it's great to have all the software, but you know, running these systems, as Sophie speaks all the time, is like a social technical challenge, right? The software doesn't get the job done itself. We understand that you support, whether those are clinicians or government agency researchers or academics, you support the first line within your institution. And it's our job to provide as many resources as possible to make you as the Pure administrator as successful as possible using the software and getting value out of that. So just highlighting sort of 3 areas. There's a lot of people when you come to these conferences, you see a lot of orange badges, and and so just to kind of like organize how we provide support and make it as clear as we can. Your first port of call is the Pure support desk. There's actually a little AI widget there that's answering questions even before you put in a ticket now. We have a team. This team in Pure support, they're located in 3 different regions. Many of them are here in America. Some of the Spanish speaking to support our Latin American colleagues. We have, these are people who have been around a long time. I mean, the support team, the average tenure of somebody on this Pure support team is like at least 10 years, right? Like Lars was in that team before, Melania was in that team before. These are people with deep expertise on Pure. These are not, this is not a support desk where it's like, high turnover or somebody who's, new. You're really getting an expert when you speak to somebody in the support team. So please, go there as soon as possible when you have a Pure specific question. Elsevier provides, most institutions have at least 2 or 3 products from us, right? And we have a general Elsevier customer success team, which their role is to try to help the entire organization, whether it's a research leader, a library, somebody might have a question about how do I get help on something, right? Their job is not to focus on like pushing any one particular product, but it's to sort of help you. Maybe the right answer to your question is, maybe SciVal is the right solution for a certain use case. Maybe Digital Commons would be a better solution if it relates to institutional research repository or something like that. So think of the Elsevier customer success manager who's assigned to your institution as somebody to sort of check in with every once in a while, ask general questions. They can help you, find your way within all the resources that Elsevier has to offer on a range of topics. And when they if they're an Elsevier-wide customer success manager, just realize they can pull in specialists from any product, right? So if it's SciVal, they'll pull in a specialist. If you have a really deep, intricate question about the product, they'll pull in specialists, like people deeply trained, like Bushra and David in the back, who are specialized in, Pure specific. If you need deep training on how to train departmental administrators on reporting or something very, very intricate, there are also specialists within this team. So, and your account manager would be for things like, I'd like to add, another 500 persons to my license. We're going through a renewal, any kind of contractual issues. So we have, that's just sort of how we're organized. And then, of course, you have deep access to all the time to our engineers, our product manager. Our engineers actually answer half of your support tickets, and the product managers are always available. So, if as your user group chair for NAPUG reaches out, says, we'd really like somebody to come and speak on a particular topic, I think anybody who's been at the NAPUG has seen, deep access to the product managers. And we really love this interactivity with our customers so we can understand how to best serve you. So this is just a little more. So we have the product support team. The help center is now redesigned. I think most people have given us feedback that's a little better organized than it used to be in the olden days. I think it's all Google Index, so I think you can just literally ask ChatGPT, like, how do I do this in Pure? And these pages will provide some part of the answer. You could try that, but and then the client community is kind of like where you log in, provide support tickets. You can chat with other Pure customers and things. And then we have specific curriculum or courses. We understand the situation that often, a software license for Pure will go 5 years, and in year 2, the Pure administrator leaves or department administrators leave, and there's turnover. So we have training resources on the ready. And and if you ever, we just recreated this help center, and there's a person who did the vast majority of that work who's been working in Pure support for like 12 or 15 years. But sometimes we miss an insight, like maybe our page doesn't explain enough. So feel free, like just on those help pages, just say, this isn't clear enough. Just click the button. Feedback goes right to the, very experienced Pure team, and you'll often see like that page being corrected, like, a couple days later. So as we understand like what we can do better there. So, and then we have master classes. So these are, as I mentioned before, these are just examples of, maybe you're a very large institution and you as a central Pure administrator are trying to get the departments to do their own reporting or to do, to manage certain workflows or processes. These are, these can either help you or they can help other people in your institution. So